Hello, it's that time again to take a look at an issue of Dreamcast magazine. This is the UK's Dreamcast magazine released by Paragon Publishing, and this is issue number 10. This was released on the 20th of June 2000. So this has obviously got the Samba de Amigo cover, and we have down here on the left Ferrari F355, Colin McRae Rally 2, which I'll come to shortly, Code Veronica review and the solution. Weirdly, this issue actually came with a music CD, and I'm not entirely what music was on the CD. It says here free games music CD, and also here no music CD. And apparently this is the biggest ever issue, so that's something to scream about on the front cover, I would imagine. Right, let's start with the usual, which is the intro from the editor Simon Phillips, and we've got the contents page. Weirdly, tells you what's in the magazine. Okay, the first big story is this, which is Colin McRae Rally 2.0. If you visit the Dreamcast Junkyard on occasion, you may have seen that I actually got to play the unfinished version, and if you look back through my videos, you'll see that there is a video on Colin McRae Rally 2 for the Dreamcast. These shots on these pages, I'm pretty certain are from the PC version, because these locations and these game modes aren't in the Dreamcast version that is sort of out there. Or I say out there, it's on a disc in someone's collection. Okay, moving on. Here's some information about Soul Reaver 2, a game that was, it was rumoured for the Dreamcast but then cancelled. Weirdly, these are PlayStation 1 shots of the first game, so I don't know what they were trying to prove with those. There's some interesting information in these side sections here. There's one here about an ISAO card, which is like a network, like prepaid card for Japanese Dreamcast owners, where they could buy things, on the internet. Also, there's a little snippet here about Metal Gear Solid 2 reportedly coming to the Dreamcast in the future. Obviously, that never happened, and it was a PlayStation 2 exclusive. It would have been interesting though if the Dreamcast had continued as many people think it should have done. What other games would have been ported over? It would have been interesting to see if the Dreamcast could even do Metal Gear Solid 2 to the graphical standard of the PS2 game. Some interesting information here about Quake 3 and online gaming. Choo Choo Rocket there. Information about upcoming Sonic games, Sonic Shuffle and Sonic Adventure 2. Virtua Tennis hadn't been released at this point, so there's some information on that. Advert here for Gauntlet Legends. Okay, there's quite a few unreleased games mentioned in this issue, and I will put them up on the Dreamcast Junkyard blog, where this video will also be embedded on the page. But here's one for El Dorado, or The Road to El Dorado, which was going to be an adventure game based on the animated film from DreamWorks. Also, the Roswell Conspiracies game. And then down here in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a little snippet about Castlevania Resurrection, which, as we all know, was a cancelled Castlevania 3D game for the Dreamcast. But here it's saying that it had been cancelled previously and then was resurrected again, pardon the pun. And that's what this is about. Obviously, it didn't come out eventually, but interesting that it was a will it, won't it kind of thing with Castlevania Resurrection. It was just ongoing. Okay, some information on Starlancer here. And then another game that was unreleased for the Dreamcast. I wonder if it ever even went into development, because it was a PC game, but it's Independence War 2. And according to this, it's 60% complete at this point, but very little is known about this particular version of the game, if indeed it ever entered development. So, moving on. Dragon Riders Chronicles of Pern. It's not a bad game, actually. If you like RPGs, I'm not a big fan of them, as I've keep saying over and over again in these videos, but it's interesting enough. Okay, some information here about WWF Royal Rumble, NFL Blitz 2001, and another unreleased game here, Star Wars Super Bombard Racing, which was like the big bobblehead version of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. It did actually come out on the PS2. I believe it's not that bad, to be honest. It would have been nice to have another kart-type racing game on the Dreamcast. Over here is a little side story about Test Drive Off-Road 3, which was announced and then subsequently cancelled. Okay, more information here about Black and White. Different online. Now this is quite cool. This is about the Bleemcast, or Bleem for Dreamcast. I do have the disc that lets you play pretty much any PlayStation game on your Dreamcast if it's compatible, which is an early beta version of it. But this is what they were going to do. They were going to release them in different packs. So you've got the A pack, the B pack, possibly like the C pack as well, which would allow different sections of the PlayStation library to be played. But what I've not seen a lot of information about is this kind of add-on here. So this looks like some kind of box that you would plug into your Dreamcast, and then these are like mock-ups of a sort of a pseudo PlayStation controller, which would then play, you'd be able to play on Dream. To be honest, looking at this, it's got a PlayStation port on it, so I'm thinking you'd probably be able to just plug a PlayStation controller into that. But very cool nonetheless. And again, I will put scans of this on the main Dreamcast Junkyard site, so if you want to have a closer look, then you can. A little bit here about Fish Life, which is like a virtual aquarium thing. Big advert for Choo Choo Rocket, because at this point it had come out and you could play online against other people. Disney World Magical Racing Tour, terrible PlayStation port of a terrible PlayStation game. not really much to write home about there. Soldier of Fortune, little preview. Pretty good conversion on the Dreamcast, to be honest. And also some news about Silent Scope coming up. Some PlayStation, some PC to Dreamcast, predictions. We've got Deus Ex and Anachronox, neither of which came to the Dreamcast. More unreleased stuff. The Mummy, a game based on the film The Mummy with Brendan Fraser in it. Quite a good film, actually. Quite like it. Information here about what's it called? Magforce Racing. I believe it's called Killer Loop on the PlayStation. It's not the best game, but it's one of the only futuristic races of its type. You've got things like Pod 2 as well, but it's passable, I suppose. Preview here of 102 Dalmatians and Evil Twin. Evil Twin's a PAL exclusive. Got quite nice art direction if you're into like sort of weird steampunky Lovecraftian kind of comic book art, if that's what you want to call it. Super Runabout. I do quite like Super Runabout. The controls are horrendous, but it looks really nice, and it just kind of hints at what could have possibly come for the Dreamcast had they continued supporting it. Sega, that is. More information about F1 World Grand Prix 2 and Ready to Rumble Round 2. It's not really something we need to dwell on. Advert here for Sega Worldwide Soccer 2000 Euro Edition, another PAL exclusive. Alone in the Dark, The New Nightmare, and a competition here to win a trip to World Disney Resort in Florida. Okay, more previews. This time we've got Space Channel 5 and Stupid Invaders, which is a game that doesn't really get a lot of stuff written about it, but it's actually quite a good, fun kind of point and click game. It looks really nice as well. I know it's all pre-rendered and it's all pre-rendered backgrounds and this and the other, but it looks really cool. Might do a feature on that in the near future, actually. 355, we all know about that, and a little section here on Ducati World, which is again another really bad PlayStation port, even down to the point where it's got like pixelated graphics and loads of like polygon tearing and stuff. So it's worth playing that game just to see how bad PlayStation ports can get. Okay, Outrigger and Pod 2, which is another PAL exclusive, I believe. And the main selling point of Pod 2 was that it was an online-only racer. I mean, you could play it offline, but there was very little in the way of modes. There's no championship or anything. It's just literally race around tracks against like 3 drones. It's pretty basic, to be honest. I would imagine playing it online would have been a little bit more interesting, but that's down there. And an advert here for V-Rally 2. Okay, another feature on arcades here from Dreamcast Magazine, and this is to do with the Sega Park. Years and years and years ago, before I moved to Southampton, I went to a shopping centre called Bargate, and it's closed down now. But I was certain that there was a kind of Sega Worldy place in there that I'd seen. And then when I eventually moved here, this place had closed down like long ago. But this kind of just reconfirms that I had actually been to this place, because down here on the left there's a list of the different locations of the different Sega parks in the UK, and that one is listed, Southampton Bargate Shopping Centre. So yeah, this is just a competition to basically win a free trip to the Sega Park, wherever you may live. I'm pretty sure all of these are gone now, just because of Sega's current financial position. But yeah, this is obviously from a time when Sega were quite healthy, well, or healthier than they are now financially. That is. Moving on. Advert there for episode 1 Racer, and this is like the main cover story review. So it's for Samba de Amigo. I have to be honest with you here. I've never actually played Samba de Amigo. I don't own it. I don't own the maracas just because I can't afford them. I can't afford to pay £100 for a set of maracas that I'll probably play with once or twice. It'd be nice to have them in the collection, but I just can't stretch to that. And I know a lot about it. I know you can get it on the Wii, but it's not really the same, is it? So yeah, this is the main review for this issue, and it gets 95%. So yeah, Samba de Amigo. An arcade little look forward to an upcoming Dreamcast game, which is American Pro Trucker. Just talking to some people in the local arcade. I'm guessing it was one in Bournemouth where this magazine was based. Quite possibly at the Sega World that was mentioned earlier on in the magazine, or the Sega Park. Okay, moving on to the review section. Resident Evil Code Veronica. This was actually reviewed as Biohazard in a previous issue of the magazine, and this is just a PAL release that they're now re-reviewing. So this one gets 94%, quite rightly too. It's one of the better games on the Dreamcast. Choo Choo Rocket. Online gaming has finally come to the Dreamcast at this point, certainly in the PAL territory anyway. And this gets 90%. It's a really good game actually, Choo Choo Rocket. Even offline, obviously you can't play it online anymore, I don't think. But even offline in like local multiplayer, it's a brilliant game, lots of fun. I know you have to kind of explain to people a couple of times how what they're meant to be doing, but once they get it, it's really good fun. Silver. This is an RPG for the Dreamcast. It's quite reminiscent of something like what's it called? Final Fantasy, with the pre-rendered backgrounds of the polygonal characters laid over the top, and it does feature some quite what's the word? Fruity language. There's a lot of swearing in it, from what I remember. I've not played it for a while. It's one that I need to kind of go back to though, because it does have quite a few northern accents in it, which you don't hear very often in games. Certainly not games from this era. Everything's usually either American, or if there are any English accents in games, it's that weird like American English where everyone speaks like the Queen. I obviously don't speak like the Queen, and it's nice to hear like accents like mine in a game, and Silver has them in abundance, so that was quite cool to hear. This gets 84%. Tony Hawk's Skateboarding, a game that needs no introduction. Fantastic skateboarding game, 94%. At this point in the Dreamcast life, it was looking very, very healthy. There was a lot of really good games coming out. There was a lot of stuff on the horizon. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, one of my favourite racing games on the Dreamcast. Dreamcast magazine didn't think the same though. They gave it 74%, and just basically lamented on the fact that it's really just a port of the N64 game, or the PC game, whichever way you look at it. I like these kind of adverts because they are advertising different websites about the Dreamcast. I know now there's a lot of Dreamcast fan sites, certainly my own, the Dreamcast Junkyard. There's loads of others. If you just type Dreamcast into Google, you'll find a whole raft of them. But, it's nice to go back to on the Wayback Machine and type these URLs in and see what the website looked like at the time. So this one is dreamcastaddict.com. So yeah, go and check that out on Wayback Machine if you get a spare 5 minutes or so. That's if it even works. Dragon's Blood. We spoke about this on the most recent episode of the DreamPod podcast, and it's got some really good voiceover work in it, including a cameo from George Takei from Star Trek. Sorry, I didn't tell you what the score was on that. I got 79%. Roadsters. This is a weird one, Roadsters, because the N64 game is actually really good. It's one of the better racing games on the N64, and it looks really nice as well. And the Dreamcast version it's from the same people and the same developer, but it's as if they had a sideways look at what they were doing with Speed Devils, what the guys over at the Speed Devils were doing with all the different kind of natural disasters and weird interactive things that go on the track. And then they just kind of implemented them to the Dreamcast version, and it just didn't work. And as well as that, it's as if it's a completely different game. it's a terrible. It handles really badly. It looks bad. Again, it's one of them ones that's worth checking out if you can find it cheap, just to see how bad it is. But on the flip side of that, also play the N64 version and see how much better that is. It's bizarre. That one got 49%. Oh, sorry, 48%. Midway Arcade Classics, or Midway Greatest Hits, that's 27%. The review just basically laments how bad the interface is and that none of the games are worth playing and that they're very repetitive and dull. Retro gaming, it's kind of put on a pedestal now in this day and age, but back sort of then it was kind of like, we don't want to play these games in our brand new Dreamcast kind of thing. So that one got 27%. Advert here for gameplay. Gauntlet Legends, yeah, 87%. These are the import reviews now. So we've got Power Stone 2, 92%. Great game, love Power Stone. Import reviews here, again, probably too small for you to read, so I'll just quickly go through them. Typing of the Dead, 90%. Twinkle Star Spirits, I always thought it was Twinkle Star Sprites, to be honest, but anyway, 79%. Denture de Go 2, that's the train simulator, 26%. Gundam Side Story, 0079, that's 80%. This is one game I really, really want to get, and I can't find it. The NTSC version, I just can't get it anywhere. It's really annoying, and I really want to play it because I love mech games. Sorcerian, I hope that's how you pronounce it. Apprentice of 7 Star Magic, that gets 49%. I've never even heard of that, to be honest. 2D RPG. Interesting. Okay, moving on to the interact section. This is where the letters and the high scores and all that kind of crap. Letters page. Reader reviews. Shadowman, 60%. Power Stone, 92%. Choo Choo Rocket, 90%. WWF Attitude, 90%. Whoever reviewed that, Stephen Kennedy, not sure I agree with that, to be honest. Next up, we've got the sort of the internet section. So this is just basically giving you some information on where you can get a cheap Dreamcast from. So Tomb Raider 4 and Resident Evil 2 here apparently are at $49.99. So winner. Solutions, Virtua Fighter, Rayman 2. I won't spend too long looking at these bits. Guide for Resident Evil Code Veronica. Skip past all that. This is the directory where they list all the different Dreamcast games, different reviews, CD reviews, Belle and Sebastian, comics, Star Wars Shadows of the Empire there. This is where they look at just tap that's come out. I do quite like these pages. I dwell on them quite often in this series of videos, just because it's nice to look back at the old tech. There's an LCD TV there. Nice. Is it an MP3? Yeah, an MP3 player down there for 170 quid. 64 megabytes of memory there. Yeah, some Buffy the Vampire Slayer figures. Yeah. All tap that you don't need. An advert for Gillette Mac 3 in a Dreamcast magazine. Bit weird, but there you go. Next issue, on sale, the 13th of July 2000, Colin McRae Rally 2. There you go. More adverts, back issues, Green Moment. This is about Power Stone 2 and the final boss. And then on the back page, you've got an advert for South Park Rally. So yeah, that is issue 10 of Dreamcast magazine. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed leafing through it. And yeah, like I say, all the games that you couldn't see because it's like a video, it's quite zoomed out, I will put them on the Dreamcast Junkyard site. I'll put a link in the description to this video so you can just click on that and you can see the scans of the different unreleased games in this issue. As ever, thank you very much for watching. And yeah, I appreciate all the subscriptions and the comments and etc. So yeah, cheers.